your husband is currently serving, your husband, Robert,
yes.
is currently serving a life sentence for a 1971 murder of Susan Randall. Okay. And he's recently, I guess, really had a ray of hope in that the DNA results that he has pushed for so long have come back, and there's been a motion filed for a new trial now based on those results. That, according to his lawyer, show that there were multiple assailants involved in this murder. So the state's theory that there was only one person, your husband, would seem to at least be in doubt, and therefore could trigger a new trial, which is what your husband wants.
Well, also, the main person in the DNA does not match my husband.
Okay.
I mean, none of the tests have ever matched my husband. This particular time, because they had just the male DNA, they could exclude him, which they did.
How long have the two of you been married?
42 years.
42 years.
71, yeah, 42.
1971. And how many kids do you have?
Between us, we have 5.
Okay. Did he have another child, or did you?
Yes, no. He had a son, and I had 3 children, and then we had one together.
Oh, okay. Now, were you pregnant with that child when he went to?
No, the child.
Jail?
Manuel was 9 years old.
Was 9
9 months old. I'm sorry,
9 months old. So I read something about you were pregnant at the time, or is that incorrect? When this
at the time that the woman was killed, yes,
yeah.
I was pregnant.
And that was with Manny, though.
Yes, Manny.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you have 4 kids between you, and then 1 you have together.
Yes.
Okay. And how many grandchildren do you have?
There's let's see, 4, 3, 7, 8. There were 9. One has since passed away, and we also have 2 others that my son married, so it's like 11.
Okay, 11 grandchildren. Okay. And are they all? Well, I guess some are down south.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. There's only one that lives in the north. He lives across the pond over here.
Oh.
And he has 4 children.
Is that Manny who lives?
Yes, Manuel. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
The others, for various reasons, have moved south, and they live in North Carolina, Georgia, and
I think
Florida.
it's a place to visit and go on vacation. So, and it's warmer down there. So
true. I know, that's why they don't want to move up north here.
No. Snuggling show.
Actually, the oldest granddaughter is expecting a baby in May.
Really?
June.
So you're gonna be a great grandmother.
Great grandmother.
Wow. Okay.
So we're anticipating that.
Okay. Let me. After all these years of being apart, how have you managed to maintain a marriage and, I guess, you keep your spirits up because you were. You had a big family to deal with.
I guess I always determined that Bob would always be part of our lives, and he's always been part of our decision-making. We communicate, we, kind of promise ourselves that we never part angry, irritated with each other. Bob, perhaps, is the one that has the most indomitable spirit, I guess. And the other thing that's helped me has been my religion, that God has helped me and, provided for me and the children.
I was going to say you had a lot of mouths to feed at one point. How did you deal with that?
Well, actually, that's a whole other story. I only had the 2 children after Bob was arrested. My former husband managed to finagle through the courts and get the other 3.
Okay. But even so, I mean, were you working when your husband was arrested?
No. I mean, this is 71, right? Yeah. I watched the kids, and then I did start. When the youngest finally started kindergarten, that was when I went back to work.
Yeah.
I went to work as a software engineer.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. So you landed on your feet then, certainly.
Well, it took me a couple of years to get to that status,
okay.
but I mean, I had graduated in mathematics. I graduated summa cum laude, so
okay.
I had the background, and that had been my study.
Okay, so you were able to certainly support yourself and
yes. When
okay.
After
how about emotionally, though? I mean, that had to have been. Did you ever have any doubt?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I never had any doubt. I have had doubts in the justice system,
Okay.
but never any doubts in my husband.
And how are you so firm on that? How?
Just, the night this girl was killed, my husband was busy getting furniture for us, so
Okay.
we got a bedroom set and, had somebody help him, and, for us, so that the son could take the bed that we were sharing, and everybody had a bed at that point. He just, it's kind of interesting. I can still remember, shortly right thereafter, I had gotten sick. I was pregnant, and I had was passing blood, and he, so I was in the hospital, but it was like, not as far as from here to the road where the hospital was from where we were living at the time, and so he'd come to see me, and I can remember this lady was in the room with me, and after Bob had come for a few minutes. He had their oldest son watch the younger ones for a few minutes and came to see me, and the comment was, "My gosh, does he love you?" It's like I'd give anything to have a man look at me that way. So there was just always this closeness to us.
Is it more of a gut feeling that he didn't do this and you believe in him, or is it based on the evidence that you don't think is there? That would, do you just feel like?
Oh, well, number one, it's knowledge of what he was doing.
Okay.
He went through furniture, came home. He wasn't disheveled. He wasn't bloody or anything.
Right.
Almost every piece of evidence. It was like he had seen this woman gone back to get the back seat of his car, and she claimed, well, he left and supposedly went by this area. Well, as a matter of fact, because we're from Goffstown, we never went by this area. We always went another way to the highway. So there was just no reason for him to even be there.
How about the fibers and things like that they claim that they found? Is it? You feel that can be disputed, obviously.
Yeah, there weren't. The fibers were undeterminable.
Okay.
There was nothing that directly related to him. Somebody made some comments about the blood type. Well, it actually was her blood type, but it was also the blood type of virtually all the Breest men, all the Breest people. Mine was slightly different, but we had a car that had been in Manchester where she lived, and we only had it for a couple of weeks. So any atmospheric stuff that they claimed, might have been similar. Of course, would have been similar because it was in the same area.
Right.
If it was atmospheric, in fact, and even that, the matches were so far off that it, just happened to have the same color. Well, if you've got red, you probably have copper or certain elements in it. So, there was never any real piece of evidence. It was all kind of made up on the coincidence that he happened to have been in the city at that day. I don't. Just all the different fabrications over time. At the trial. I guess as a way that they had convinced people to. Like this.
Well, they didn't have the same forensics either that they have now.
No, that's true. That's
so
it wasn't a whole lot.
Blood types as opposed to DNA.
Yeah, you're right. Blood type.
Which is
A is one of the most is the next most common to O.
Yeah.
So
and that's what he was an A.
He's an A, yeah. And so was the girl an A, and my mother-in-law and my
so it was based a lot of circumstances.
Yeah. Right. It was.
But that must have. Wow. Then that must have grated on you. You said that, you had doubts in the criminal justice system. Obviously, your husband is locked up for 40 years. That's got to grate on you. Are you bitter, or have you just learned to sort of cope?
It's interesting. Immediately after the trial, my prayer was that my husband would not become bitter. And he hasn't. And, I remember at the appeal praying, Lord, forgive them for what they do, because so many of the things that they said were either not true or such an exaggeration. And that's been my thing. I pray for them. I pray for the Randall family. I feel badly that the state has constantly gone, and dragged them into it anytime there was a hearing or whatever. It's like hatred is such a I'm trying to think what the word is, a form that hatred is something that just doesn't help man. It just destroys. And I pray that they will heal.
Now, and this is you were praying for their forgiveness at his sentencing, or was that?
No, just in general.
Yeah.
Over time. I mean, there was a time, as irrational as it seems, where I was irritated with the lady for not leaving clues as to who killed her. But again, it's like thoughts that pass through your mind.
Yeah.
But I've long since ceased to feel that
but
way.
You feel certainly bad for the family that they.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been through a lot, and that they constantly get pulled into it.
Yeah.
Is sad. That they can't enjoy the joy of life and living.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, you've lost someone too.
Yes.
You've lost a lot of years with your.
Well, I've lost a lot of years with my husband.
Yeah.
Because of that, I've lost some of the contact with my children. Although, I still do have contact. I did eventually get contact back with them. We've lost a lot as a family.
Is the family sort of divided on this, or?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with my. It had to do with my former husband.
Oh, okay. So the kids are all supportive of Bob.
Yes.
Okay.
It was interesting. The oldest son had called me after I had sent it, because the lawyer had sent me a copy of Ian DeMain's brief, and he told me, he says, yeah, we've been living with all this stuff all these years, but it was like he took a house of cards and took it down one card at a time. Because that's in fact what it was. It's always been a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain, authorities in New Hampshire that tried to, that were determined they were going to get Bob for something, and came and questioned them about all kinds of stuff, and it just, it's sad. And
but
yes,
he's innocent,
right? There's no absolute doubt in my mind.
Okay. And he's not bitter about being.
No, he gets angry, like at times at certain things that happen. But I don't think the word bitter would,
Yeah.
He's looking. He's the one, perhaps, that's helped me a lot in the sense of he always looks forward. He's always had, this impression that, eventually he would be proved innocent.
The hope that he would, the confidence perhaps.
Yes, the confidence.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's, and the hope. We've seen things that have, the judges in previous cases have ruled a certain way, and then they've made some we don't think this is. So.
Do you think that this provides the best evidence and hope so far of him, for him to get a new trial?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so, and I think that, as Ian said, that they really don't have much that isn't unchallenged. Various people have said various things, and then they said other things, and I think that it's not something that anyone can ever pay back, because the debt is great, but there is no reason to, but it's like, okay, that's life. Go on, and I hope to God that I pray to God that He will bless us and bring us back together as a family, and that's been my prayer for years. As a matter of fact, we have one prayer we say when we visit every time.
What's the prayer?
The prayer is, Heavenly Father, according to the Gospel of St. Matthew, whenever two of you are gathered together in my name, I shall grant you what you ask. We ask, Lord, that you bend the minds and hearts of the judiciary to bring about Bob's release and give Carol the strength to endure this ordeal. And our children, and afterward we pray for, whatever we are praying for our family, for our children, whatever. And
has your faith always been this strong, or has it become stronger because of having to endure this?
That's a good question. I've always had a strong faith, and I think, I've, like everybody else, has been through times of desert times, but I think it's become stronger through the years, and, as God's shown his love for me, and he always took care of me. I mean, my children always had enough to eat, we had a home. We may not have, ever were wealthy, but we, did get along, did have love among us.
More than a lot of people have.
That's right.
How often do you get to see your husband?
I usually go about once a week. Everybody around the prison knows, okay, Thursday afternoons, he's got a visit.
Okay.
And, I mean, sometimes it changes, or if I'm not feeling well, or the weather's bad, I may not go, but, I show up there pretty good.
That's pretty good. Okay. How about, do you have nightly phone calls, or no?
He calls about regularly, about 3 times a week.
Okay.
What nightly phone calls? Well, they've gone down a little bit in cost, but they got exorbitant.
To do that.
I mean, I'm local to him, but I still have to pay, like just prison rates or whatever.
He's been in MCI Shirley for a while now, which is good for you.
Yes, it is.
Okay, because he's certainly far more convenient than he would be up in New Hampshire.
Right.
Yeah. So how does that work? I'm not really sure how the
interstate compact.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for various reasons. I mean, he was moved out because a series of guards who were doing illegal things. He was calling them on it, and so for his safety, they moved him first to Rhode Island, and then Rhode Island had a massive riot while he was there, and so they tried to reduce their population and send him back to New Hampshire, and they asked him, the guards were still around, and asked him where he wanted to go, and he said Massachusetts, because I lived in Massachusetts. Yeah. So he's been to Concord and Gardner and Norfolk and Shirley. Okay. So it's been various places that I visit him, but again, it's always been, a treat to me to visit him.
Do you do anything other than the prayer at the end of the visit? Do you do anything special when you go to visit him, or is it just, how are things going and just kind of catching up on... Yeah,
catching up on life, I mean, like I said, he's always been, part of the family decisions, family issues, and we talk about that on the phone, too.
Yeah.
As well as, what's going on in his life.
How tough was it for you, though, to remain positive when he's not around to help? And certainly there are a lot of single mothers who can sympathize with this. And you're raising kids. Whether it's 1 or 10, it's still you're raising kids. How tough was that for you to do that, to take on that role of single mom?
It was, it had some difficulties. Our oldest son, had some issues, and for a while he was first a friend of mine, and then with the foster mother for a short time. But then he came back, and and generally speaking, we discussed it, Bob and I, and the children would go to visit him, they. I guess it could, it wasn't any harder. I didn't have, like drug problems or stuff like that. Okay. They did occasionally act out, but generally speaking, they,
regular.
Yeah, regular kids.
Yeah.
Otto originally wanted to be a lawyer, but then he ended up going into the service for a while, and then, which was the best thing for him.
Yeah.
And he, he came back and eventually went into remodeling older homes, and he has his business down in North Carolina, where his wife was from. Manuel went into, he became an master electrician, and then eventually he got into working for Beacon and some of the power companies, and now he sells the various components and helps make up the components to run some of our industry in terms of electricity.
So they're doing fine.
Yes.
Everybody has sort of
right. My other children,
way.
they're also successful in their lives. One was he was also in electronics. Sean, my other son, and Cammie and Laura. Cammie's been comptroller at Wofford University, Wofford College, and then she moved to Florida to be near her sister. And her sister and her husband are in real estate down there. So everybody has done well.
Good. All right. So now this is kind of the home stretch. This is when the two of you should be sort of enjoying your time alone.
Yes.
Together. Now, are you retired now? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was been disabled for a number of years, and so I, at this point I'm 69, so yes, I'm retired.
Okay. And certainly he would be at the age to
75. Yeah.
Yeah, to be retired. So this is supposed to be your golden years.
Yes.
So
they will be.
They will be. Okay. I admire your optimism. I do. Considering everything you've been through, and truly, what your husband is going through is very different from what you're going through, because you're here, and you have the emotional support, and you have, the day-to-day stuff on the outside, and it's I don't know how you stayed married for so long. I applaud your faith that has allowed you to keep going like that, because that's I think, I don't want to use the word inspirational because that sounds hokey, but it's good to see it, and it's kept your marriage together. You never thought of divorce. You never thought. No. Okay. Some people think of it because they can get more.
No.
Okay.
I think at one low point, Bob said, "Well, you can go if you want." And I said, "You're kidding me. There's no way." You stuck with me.
This really is till death do you part.
Yes,
I mean, but you feel it in your heart.
Yes.
This is not just I have vows and I have to stick to them.
No.
Okay. You love this man.
Yes.
Okay. And you stayed married because of that, even with the issues that you have to face, which are larger than most couples.
Sure. It's like I said. I think pretty much most of the time we've had some action in court over the last, and you raise your hopes, and you get to take one day, one step at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, stop you, baby.
I noticed in a photo, and this is kind of digressing, but I noticed in a photo that when your husband was, I think, out on a view or something, he showed him smoking a cigarette. I'm sure right now he's not a smoker anymore, so that's a good part. That that's good. Were there any other issues that did he drink too much? Did he do anything else? Okay.
No, he would have a drink. Okay.
Yeah, but he wasn't an alcoholic.
Oh no, nothing like that. No,
okay.
no. I mean, he was a hard-working man.
Okay.
If he wasn't working, he was working on property. My mother-in-law had some property in Lowell, and
he was a carpenter, right?
Yes,
okay.
He was a carpenter, builder. He also, built houses, and he was actually his specialty was roofing in California when he lived out there, and he was always working towards something. You know, he remodeled the apartment, and we moved into a house in Dunstable, and it was an old farmhouse, and he did a lot of renovations there. Didn't quite get to finish it before they took him away.
Yeah.
But you know, he wasn't an idle person that would just sit around. His sons are like him too.
So all this stuff about, I mean, part of their theory was that he would go around trolling for 18 or teenage girls. You don't believe a word of this?
No. Bob was and is the kind of person that is very concerned about other people.
Okay.
He would, you know, he often would take somebody, you know, his former brother-in-law was in trouble in California, so he brought him here, you know, hoping to change the environment and help him. I mean, even, you know, my first thought was that I hoped that I wasn't, or concern was that I hoped that wasn't his cause of the day, you know, in a way I was. I mean, he helped me, you know, a lot in that sense. I mean, my first husband had destroyed my confidence in myself, and Bob has, through the years, always built it up.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, in all the prisons he's been in, he's tried to help people through his work, or, you know, or through legal endeavors.
Is he as religious as you are?
Not in the same sense, but yet he you know, firmly believes in God, and you know, he's I don't know, like his comment when he was a child, he read about Kim, who was, I guess it was an Indian type thing, and in India, and you know, he used to go around and be a scribe for those who didn't know how to write. Well, Bob does somewhat even that today, that some of the prisoners, they don't know how to write a letter, you know, asking for help on, you know, or some injustice that's happened to them. You know, he'll write letters for them, even to their girlfriends. He'll, you know, at Christmas time, he usually shares what he has with, you know, some of the other men there. I mean, this has always been a part of him.
So he's been very giving.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I'm just thinking, Susan Randall was supposedly hitchhiking.
right.
Did he have any contact with her? I mean, did he, as far as you know? Because I could see somebody picking up a hitchhiker. And,
yeah. No.
Okay.
One of the things. I forgot what I was going to say. No, I don't, you know, I mean, he may try to help somebody, but you know, he didn't know her or of her, and wouldn't have, like I said, crossed her path even that night, because we go a different way.
Well, because back in the 70s, people still picked up hitchhikers.
Oh, yeah, right. You know? No, I mean, he may have done something to some others, but I don't, you know, like I said, I don't think he was more likely to, you know, perhaps pick up men, you know, a guy.
Okay,
you
so
know,
he was, yeah, okay.
He by this point, he tended to be leery of women, because various, you know, incidents in his life, so he just tended to, you know, to keep to himself. You know, if he needed help, I mean, he got this other gentleman that helped him move some things from my former house, where his mother had been living.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't one to, you know, pick up people off the street.
Okay, because that's, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, at that point, like you said, like I said, you know, if he's our, you know,
today,
today people are very leery of that, but, you know, and I know at that time it was more common.
Yeah. But so there would have been no contact in any way. Okay.
No, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, that's what made it so very difficult for us to even prepare for trial, because, you know, we knew nothing.
How do you prepare for something that didn't happen?
Right. How do you prepare for something that didn't happen, and you weren't even around to hear about what had happened?
Right. You know, I was just doing some quick math. You guys weren't married that long before all this
No.
happened.
No.
You know, what, he went away in
72.
So you'd really only been married, what, a year?
Yeah, a little over a year, right?
Yeah, wow, okay. All right, you're still in a honeymoon phase at that point.
Yes. Haven't come out of it.
No, that's good. And yet you remain so devoted to this man that, had you known him for a long time before that, or?
No, maybe I met him maybe a little over a year before.
Okay, so probably 2 years, and still that devotion, that love toward this man.
Yes.
Okay.
He was he was and is a very generous man, very loving man with his children and with his family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you consider him your soulmate?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It's a connection.
You know? Right, yes. We read each other's thoughts these days.
Yeah.
Sometimes, almost.
Yeah. Well, that can be irritating sometimes.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't mean that. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, listen, don't read my mind, okay? Let me tell you what's going on. So, I'll have that. What happens if this doesn't work? What happens then if this bid for a new trial isn't successful?
We just go on living, I guess.
Okay. Do you have any fear that... Because I know at the last parole board hearing, he was taken out by ambulance. He had some medical condition, is that...
Well, he had
something.
a heart attack a number of years, I don't know, mid-90s.
Okay.
And, he's always been very faithful in terms of taking his medicine. The doctor told him, he says, I'm going to keep you alive with medicine, and these are the ones you take. And at times they've tried to change them at the prison, and, he's fought back to ensure that he gets his proper medicine. He also walks. I mean, shortly, after we get back the hospital, he started walking, and to this day he walks, so it's just around the thing, but he walks a half an hour, 20 minutes to a half an hour to keep his strength. And to some degrees, his heart is probably healthier now than it was
before.
Then.
Yeah, well, you have to stop smoking, so...
that was a long time before.
Yeah.
Actually, I smoked and he smoked, and he gave it up, and then he kind of convinced me to give it up, so we haven't smoked for
a long time,
20, 30 years.
Yeah. I raised the medical issue. What happened at the parole board hearing that did he have a medical issue?
It was a medical issue, but it was not an emergency issue.
Oh, okay. All right.
He had been scheduled he's been waiting for 2.5, almost 3 years to get his cataracts removed. I mean, he'd gotten to a point where he was having to have people type for him, to dictate, or because they finally were going to do it, so he had gone down to see the specialist, and he had his eye surgery not last week, the week before.
Okay. Did they do both eyes, or?
No, they just do one eye at a time.
Yeah.
And so they did the first eye, and it's like he's still going, wow, the colors are so different.
Yeah.
I can see, and you pick up a thing and read the small print.
After my mother had both eyes done, she had better eyesight than I did, so.
I had it done last year.
But she still couldn't hear without her glasses on. It was just a weird thing.
Couldn't hear without her glasses on. I've heard that, that some people, but usually it's because they can focus better. That's cute.
Yeah, well, we just indulge, that's all.
All right. Well, I know my son's mother-in-law is like that, too. She'd worn glasses since she was young, and she says the glasses are just glass now, but, she feels more comfortable with them.
That's what she's used to. She's used to the weight and how everything.
Right. I mean, my thing was for long distance. I never had any trouble reading or anything, so I could, I would just, so it wasn't as hard for me to give up, partly because also I've had a lot of surgery on my ear, and the glasses don't sit well, so, they're falling off half the time, so I would just wear them like, if I was watching television from a distance, and definitely when I drove.
Yeah.
But,
otherwise
I didn't.
Yeah. Do you have, he sounds like he's, even for a man his age, he's in good shape.
Yeah.
I mean, the fear would be that maybe something would happen to him medically, so that before he could get a chance at a new trial. Is there
Mm-hmm.
ever that fear there that, he might die before he gets a new trial? Or do you just not think about that? You just keep going forward?
It's not something I've thought about.
Okay.
Like I said, he's, very faithful in terms of taking his medicine. I mean, his thoughts, in terms of getting out was making sure he had, he was able to get his prescriptions.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. I think,
Okay.
it's never really entered my mind.
Okay.
I mean, we can add all kinds of fears if you want. take each day's
Yeah.
one
Well,
day
certainly
at a time.
you've been through enough that, it's full speed ahead. So, you just
Right.
put the bad thoughts behind you and you just keep going
Right.
forward. It's just, you start to reach ages where you're up there and, becomes more of an issue. Then time is not on your side anymore.
Right.
You got to get things done. So that's why, it'd be helpful to get a hearing on a new trial sooner rather than later.
Later, yes.
Do they have a hearing date yet for it?
No. The state had asked for 90 days to respond, and our attorneys felt 90 days was a long time. They requested 60, for the state to respond.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
60 days from when, though?
when he filed a couple of weeks ago, or a week
Okay.
and a half ago, whenever it was.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we still have...
Yeah.
Did the judge allow just 60 days, or...?
I don't believe he's ruled yet, and
Okay.
at least I haven't heard from Ian.
Okay.
Poor Ian, he's on vacation between jobs.
Yeah.
He can't get away from Breest.
We were emailing back and forth
Yeah.
when he was at dinner with his family, and
Oh.
I'm like, just enjoy the dinner with your family. Okay,
Yeah.
this will wait. We still have another day. Don't worry about it. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, he's
definitely.
really, he's nice. Yes, I
He's
know.
definitely devoted.
He's got, we've been around as he had his son.
Now, is he working?
Abraham is his oldest son, which is like 4, I think, and then he's got a daughter, Zoe. It's about 2.
Yes, he said, yeah. So he's got enough. His plate is full there. For the family, I thought, geez, if I was out to dinner and I was I was emailing for work, we don't know.
Well, his wife's a prosecutor. So.
Oh, all right. So she's got it. Okay. No need to say anything more. All right.
So there you go.
She probably gets her own.
Yeah, she gets her own stuff.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. Wow. Now, is he working through the Innocence Project, or is he doing this set? Because I know he was with them for a while. Is he doing it through the Innocence Project, or?
He's
doing it pro bono, I understand.
Yes, I mean the Innocence Program has always been in the background. They've advised him, and I think they continue to advise him.
Yeah.
He also, the law firm that he's with has been very supportive.
Okay.
They've given him carte blanche, and several people that work with him, even some summer interns last year. Then he's moving back to the law firm he had been in before.
Oh.
With a promotion, he's been promoted to counselor, and so I don't know how long he's got. He's got a little bit of time between the two.
Oh,
Taking a
okay.
little bit of time between the jobs, knowing that, okay, it's going to take New Hampshire.
But now he's based in New York,
yes,
right?
He's based in New
Okay.
York.
Does that make it difficult at all for communicate? I mean, you don't really have face-to-face.
No, I met him once. He came here and got all the files that I had of various things, motions Bob had written or had been written for him and so forth. So I met him once, and then he after he saw me, he went to meet Bob, and he had a couple of his attorneys with him.
Because he's been on the case now for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it was 2008, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
it may have been before that.
Okay, that's a long time.
He's been, more active. I mean, this last year, he's, constantly talked to Bob every week or two, and towards the end, it was almost every day, to make sure that Bob had seen what he'd written and agreed with what he'd written.
Right. As the filing and stuff started.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. Oh, hi, honey. Yeah, you look like you have cataracts too.
Yeah, I know. She's always had one blue eye and one black eye.
Oh, is
one
it just a
dark
blue
eye?
eye?
No, I think it's
Yeah.
when
How
I took
old
her.
is the
She's 11.
Okay.
The one upstairs is 17.
Yeah.
He doesn't come down. She'll sit up the top of the stairs. Once
Yeah.
in a while, she'll come down.
If I were that old, I wouldn't do it either. It's like, you come to me.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, stop your begging. Stop your begging. Mariah.
Okay, no doubts. You're going to stay married. Good for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything to say to the Randall family? I mean, I know you pray for them.
I guess I feel for them. I feel their loss, sad for their loss. I feel sad that they've been deceived all these years by a state who's wanted to prosecute anybody, and that the person, whoever harmed their well, now it's, I guess, sister and aunt. And I hope that they find peace. The peace that only God can give.
Mm. Does it trouble you that, given your belief that certainly your husband is innocent, that there's a murderer out there? There's someone who has done this.
Yeah, I mean, right. In order to prosecute my husband, they've let somebody else out. I mean, if he's done any others before, after, and since, it's kind of it's really sad.
Yeah. Maybe somebody still out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There has been somebody that has been looked at by, not necessarily the state of New Hampshire, but who was around at the time and who has been known to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Bob met this gentleman, I guess, when he was in New Hampshire, and the guy looked at him and said, "I know you're innocent." It was kind of
really?
weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, has there been any attempt over the years to hire a private investigator to see if somebody else,
Well, obviously, we were never able to afford it. And so there has, like I said, there was an effort to get through a son of this man, a DNA sample, but he had been warned, I guess, to stay away, and I don't think he was.
So that didn't work out.
Well, it's the DNA sample they got off his cigarette was that of a woman. He supposedly smoked. As my son said, this sounds like a made for TV. So I just assumed.
All right. So that's not very helpful then, is it?
No, I mean, obviously, and so it's not our job to prove who did it. It's the state of New Hampshire.
That's true.
But again, it's very difficult to do anything when you know nothing about, and not. So there, like I said, there have been other people that have, been associated with it, but it's sad.
Once the government usually gets a conviction, that's usually pretty much they consider the case closed.
Right.
It takes a lot to sort of push them over the edge.
Yes. So I mean, they have held on to this like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, the comment was, hey, if you get DNA proofs that he's, not the person, then, we'll go with you, join with you in a motion. And when we got the DNA to prove he was not the person, then,
Yeah.
then they came up with another, the DNA is corrupted over the years. Yeah, right.
I've heard, though, that what I've read was that the DNA sample that they've recently tested was, it's old and it's small, and that the reliability may be in some question.
Ian has talked to the experts
Yeah.
since then, since their allegations, and they say absolutely not.
Okay, so it should be
DNA
valid.
does not change. I mean, DNA is only 40 years old. I
Yeah.
mean, they've got DNA from people 500 years ago that they
Yeah.
test. So it's not going to change, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they found a DNA of another person, then there were
Yeah.
2 markers, I guess, 2 or 3 markers that they found,
Yeah.
Belonging to perhaps somebody else, and it's like,
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, because the fingernail
Yeah.
stuff isn't. I've covered trials where you see you're better off to get another sample of rather than the fingernail scrapings.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a sexual assault involved? Okay, there wasn't. So,
Although they tried to say there was a sexual angle to make Bob stay in jail longer, but no, there was not.
Okay, all right. So, but he was convicted under some psychosexual
Right.
act or
Well, that
something
was
like
it.
that.
They passed the law specifically for that. They passed it after he was arrested before his trial.
Really?
I researched it.
Wow. Okay.
And they did bring it up at the trial, and then later the prosecutor, because they didn't think they were going to win. But
So did that increase the time?
yes.
Okay, so it went from, I think, what was it 18 years to 40 years
Right,
before
right. It went from effectively a little over 10 years to 23 years was the way it was at the time, the sentencing.
But then it got kicked up to 40 years, though, right?
Well, the 23 is the 40 years plus good time.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, although during the trial, I can remember seeing it was held in Concord, across the top, the convicted person, gets convicted of murder, gets to serve 10 years and so many months. So, in other words, the juror, if they were doubtful, well, it's only 10 years of a person's life, he's young.
Yeah.
Additionally, the jury, there was only one person that was in her 40s. Everybody else was virtually retired or, up in their 50s or 60s. One guy was, it wasn't a sophisticated jury that we have today.
Right.
At that point, it was,
Well, there are a lot of things that have changed over
yeah.
the years. So many things. The Innocence Project, from my viewing of what they do, they get a number of cases overturned because of advances in DNA.
Yeah.
And they can show this. Right. I mean, that's really a lot of that has certainly changed dramatically.
I mean, the idea was is anybody in the vicinity or whatever, and so we'll take them and do whatever.
Yeah, it's more circumstantial in a lot of cases.
Right.
It's like, well, you were in the area and you sort of fit the description. And,
and that's good enough. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and jurors did the best they could at the time. So,
right. I mean, they.
But it's still, if you do 20 years, 40 years for something that you didn't do, it's still lost time.
Right.
You
missed a generation. I mean, through the times, like, we've lost our parents. I've lost my brother, aunts and uncles. I mean.
A lot of family.
Yeah. Bob's so these people have left us, but still with us.
Well, yeah. Well, and you have future generations coming along.
Yes, that's
so,
that's
always the bright spot.
Yes. The children are growing, and
right.
my son and his daughter and 3 triplets.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Wow. Jeez. Okay. Wow. Were the triplets?
Those
okay.
She and he, and that's the older one.
Wow. Okay. Oh, well, that's good. Okay, 2 boys and a girl. All right.
Yeah, so she ended up with 2 and 2. She was really delighted when she found that
2
out.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Okay, they can each, share a bedroom.
When your husband went, how old were your kids when your husband went away? They were
Emmanuel was 9 months. Otto had just turned 11.
Okay.
Cammie was, she's 5 years younger, so she would have been 5 or 6, going on 6. Wait a minute. She just had her 5th birthday. She just had her 5th birthday, and Lori was going on 4, and Sean was going on 3.
Young. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they grew up without their dad.
Right.
You know. You have your faith, so you don't do this, but it seems like, do you keep your fingers crossed too? I mean, do you do everything you can to ensure good luck with this, or, you know, say a special prayer every night, every morning?
I pray every morning. I mean, for not only that, but a lot of other people too. Among them, the Randalls and the prosecutors. But
Okay.
I guess I'm sorry. What was your question?
No, anything.
Oh, anything? Oh, other than that, I guess. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess that my prayer has to be, Lord, Thy will be done, and I pray that His will is to bring Bob home.
Okay.